Today I'm just going to talk about this experimental funding program that we're launching today, effectively. I'll talk just briefly about XRPL Commons, but we just had David do such a great job showing us, explaining what Commons does. And we'll talk about sort of how Glow came to be, the inception of the program, how we designed it, what were some of the initial, the philosophy behind it, and some of the, and then in practice we'll go and see like how it came to be, how it actually works. And Matt Mankins is going to talk about Kudos and present Kudos and the platform and how it integrates with Glow. So yeah, I'm Luke Bocahut. I'm Product Director, Solutions Architect for XRPL Commons, and we're here to create the conditions of success for entrepreneurs and developers to thrive in the XRPL ecosystem. So how did Glow come to be? Well, first, our philosophy, as David was saying earlier, we believe in decentralization at every layer, including in funding programs. More diversity to represent different points of view enhances the community. It creates more varied opportunities for builders, and it creates ultimately a stronger ecosystem. And so as we set out to build new funding programs when XRPL Commons started 2 years ago, there were essentially two main funding programs, the XRPL grants and the just launching at the time XRPL Accelerator. Today, we're announcing Glow. It is the second program. We're on the footsteps of the Aquarium, which was mentioned also before, which is our in-house residency program that's happening in Paris. It's a 12-week program for 12 builders, and applications are open for the next cohort of the Aquarium program. You can scan that code and get the information and get your application in. So what is Glow? Well, Glow is, it's a program we've been incubating for a year and a half now, but it's still just launching today, and we see it as an experiment, and we want it to be something that's going to be evolving and adapting to actually how the community and how it comes to be. Take everything that I say with the idea that we will change at the margin things in this program. But here's how we think about it today. So it's a retroactive funding program. It's built to elevate new and existing open source builders in the XRPL community. It rewards work that has already been done. It relies on community votes to evaluate the merit of the program, the value that's created for the community. And it's designed from the get-go to be efficient with monthly disbursements. So it's kind of a very fast pace between the time you're building and the time you're getting paid. The process behind Glow started, as I said, a year and a half ago, and early on, when we met Matt, we had conversations. We wanted to leverage Matt's extensive experience. He's been actually literally thinking about how to fund community creators for several decades. So with the Kudos teams, we evaluated existing programs in the ecosystem, in other ecosystems as well, and we conducted extensive interviews with builders. And what we found is, sorry, I had another slide here, but what we found is a lot of problems that we thought we could solve. But designing funding programs is challenging. Funding programs are hard. They're expensive to run. They're usually slow to execute as a result. They require high expertise in many different domains as we're evaluating projects across industries. And ROI can be very subjective. So this led to the following founding principles for this program. We wanted a program that was going to be additive, that was different from what existed. We wanted openness and transparency at its core, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We wanted fast turnaround, low friction, as much as possible, really to create efficiency, but also to really create also a dynamic and a pace and help with momentum. We wanted it to be XRP-based, and we also really strongly believe in involving the community. So the final point here is we wanted also a program that could sustain developers as they go about their journey in the XRP ledger. And so we wanted regular payments and efficient disbursements. So in practice, how it works today, there's 5 steps in the application process. We have a scouting mechanism. So scouts nominate contributors, individuals. Wallet holders, any wallet holder can vote. Judges assign funding tiers. They come at the end of the process once projects have been evaluated and we've already identified merit of the projects, and they assign funding tiers. And then nominees essentially have a very fast flow where they validate their KYC, they accept terms, and then they're ready to get payments. And the payment process happens at the tail end of this on a regular basis, and I'll show you that in a second. Just to drill down, so Scouts, the idea behind Scouts is we wanted high quality projects, and we wanted to leverage known community members, DevRels, key opinion leaders who are in a unique position to identify contributors. And so a list of Scouts associated with each cohort will nominate projects, will nominate people for the program. Community voting is also an important aspect of this program. We wanted any active wallet holder to be able to contribute and vote. And so the way this works is you literally connect your wallet. It has to be an active wallet. We're using the anti-spam features in some sense of the ledger, and as soon as you've connected an active wallet, you can vote for nominations, and you have 1 vote per nomination. So it's a very sort of simple, like one wallet, 1 vote. Now, the judging and the sizing of the grant, of course, is going to have a lot to do with the votes that were given out, but not only. Judges are really there to make sure that there's no sort of cheating, or there's no trying to game the system. And so really they're there to mostly validate that the order in which the programs, the nominees come up is correct. And they also have other metrics at their disposal, like for instance, how many Scouts actually nominated projects. Scouts can nominate many projects. Or we also have a custom proprietary GitHub metrics that we use. So for open source projects, we can tell if a project has momentum and so on and so forth. And finally, nominees, the nominees experience. So it's a regulated grant program, and so nominees need to go through. They actually need to apply. There's a lot of paperwork they need to fill out. They need to be KYC'd. And we've completely streamlined that process. They go in one sitting, and they can do all of the application in one flow, and it takes a few minutes. And now they've applied, and they're doing this once they've been selected by the program. Once they do this, we're able to move on to disbursement. And disbursement is quick. It uses XRP. Matt will talk a bit about how exactly it works under the hood. The bonus of the Glow program is that once you've actually been a recipient, you're basically onboarded to the Kudos platform, and you can use it for future identity-based transactions, which is pretty exciting. We're really excited about. The grant has 3 tiers. So again, it's sort of very simplified in that aspect. Small is meant to reward initial contributors, people that have maybe participating in conversations around XLS. are sort of making positive contributions to media or testing or sort of initial kind of contributions. And medium is meant to sustain people sort of who are now become maybe contributors to larger projects. And large is meant for contributors that are launching their own projects, launching larger scale projects, and that need to sort of be sustained more full time. So these are sort of ballpark ideas. We aim to disperse about 25,000 XRP per cohort per month, but of course, depending on the XRP variation, that could change a bit. So who can benefit? Well, first of all, it's a program directed towards individuals. So we're really focusing on people's contribution, but we're focusing on the people first. There's a time window in which your contribution can make you eligible for a program. So if you've participated in an open source project and you've been nominated, we've recognized a certain contribution, then we can nominate you for the next 6 months. So it's meant to be a repeat funding. Now, of course, every time you're nominated, you go through the voting process again. So does your project still bring value to the ecosystem? What work? I'll get into the types of projects we're looking to fund with this, but really it's any meaningful contribution to open source on the XRPL. And of course, you have to comply with KYC rules. This is one of the obligations one of the constraints that we're working under. These are the types of projects, categories we're funding. So for instance, creating, improving existing XLS standards, contributing to core protocol, SDKs or testing frameworks, tools, improving documentation or creating example code, creating content, could be also media content, video content. Of course, creating community tools, creating or maintaining infrastructure tools as well, helping others to run infrastructure. There's a lot of tools to be built and to be maintained. Running validators and so on, and nodes. So this is the Glow platform. It's live today. Wave 1 is not actually open right now, but you can connect to it and get notified when the first wave opens. And I mentioned we're doing this project in the most transparent way possible. Every single aspect of the Glow program is documented. So whatever level of contribution you have, whether you be a nominee or you be a judge or a scout or other, you can understand exactly the design principles, exactly how it works at the time, in real time, right? So we'll update this documentation as we go through the first real cohorts. We'll gather a lot of information. We'll probably make tweaks and changes to make the program the best fit possible for the ecosystem. You can get the documentations from here, and this will be the place where we'll always update it. So we aim to start the next cohort at the end of this month. And that means probably that this first cohort will take a little longer than what we intend. We intend to get to a monthly cadence by the end of the month. And because of the way the process works, once a cohort starts, once a cohort ends, the next can start, and the disbursement might happen a few weeks after the cohort is finished. So that's what you're seeing here. Glow is also one of the apps that we're going to include in the XRPL profile that we're building. This is an initiative that we started earlier this year. I talked about it on my talk on Tuesday. The idea is to elevate people that have been granted, that have received grants, and to make that status available for them in other apps that they use, and so they can be labeled, if they so choose, they can be labeled as being grantees. And I think that's it's sort of a nice thing to show on your profile. It gives you a certain status. With that being said, I'm going to ask Matt to come and present Kudos to you.
Thank you, Luc. Thank you so much. It's good to be here. And Luke got me thinking, has it really been decades? Have I really been doing this for decades? It hasn't been decades. It's been since Walter Isaacson in 2009 wrote an article in Time magazine about how the web was killing newspapers. And as a web developer, I felt really bad about this because I love newspapers. And so I got to thinking about the problem of compensating really large communities. And fast forward to today, this is really Kudos took that journey. So it's been about 15 years, almost decades. That journey, though, has led me into the XRPL ecosystem. I've been a part of the aquarium, the XRPL Commons, but I've also been supported by the grants team. So this work is very much reflective of some of the key things of this community. So I mentioned the web idea, but Kudos is really acknowledging that there's a really hard way to allocate funds in a scalable way. So allocating funds to a large community means that you have to price it. And how do you set a price? And once you've set the price, how do you actually move the money? And if you have a goal of doing it for 5 people, you might be able to figure out a program to do that. But if you try to get to a web scale, it gets a little bit more complicated. Even for the scale of what we're talking about here with Glow, it can become a really complicated thing. And so Kudos is a way to price value via an algorithm called Kudos that I'll go into, as well as an app to help move money. So when Kudos and Glow got together, we did it with this idea that we'd love to think about sending money to people. So when we think of the ledger, we think about sending money via wallets. We think about our addresses and things that are somewhat technical. But at the end of the day, we want to reward people. So how do we do that in a way that's easy for us and easy for the people receiving them funds? And part of this is just, once we have that, can we do it again? Can we repeat the process so that we can do it on a monthly cadence? And we're not alone. We're in governments, we have regulations, we have KYC that we have to comply with, we have legal requirements. And while our ecosystems are global, our laws are local. And so when we develop a program, we have to do it in a way that is going to be scalable as we release it to all the countries. So building that has actually been some of the challenges that has caused this program to take a little bit of time to start. So I want to introduce the concept of Kudos. The concept of Kudos is actually quite simple. It's very much the concept of a corporation. A corporation has shareholders, a corporation makes profits, those profits get distributed proportionally to those shareholders. Kudos as an algorithm is exactly this. So Kudos is write down the people that help you out, set a budget, and then split that budget between everyone on the list. So rather than setting price with supply and demand, we set price with usage and budget. We record the names of people, we set up a budget, and then split up that budget after the fact. So as we think about Kudos and Glow, how are these two systems sort of fitting together? So Glow is actually built on top of the Kudos API. Glow has its own UI, its own requirements for running the program, but at the end of the day, it's leveraging some of the capabilities of Kudos to reuse existing IDs, things like email addresses, to record all of the people that are actively receiving funds from Glow. And then as the cohort ends, we then have a fixed allocation, and that fixed allocation can then get sent out. As that allocation happens, though, we need to make sure that things like KYC, things like terms that have been properly accepted, that you're over 18, that you're in a country that is legal to send funds to, and I'm sure there will be many more, are properly ticked off. The first time that happens, there's a bit of friction in the process, but we wanted to make sure that the second time that happens, the payments go through much quicker. That's really part of the value of Kudos. So I mentioned that Kudos has these two sides. One is allocating via the Kudos algorithm. The second one is actually sending. So We do that with what we call a Kudos client. So Kudos client is currently available at settler.app. If you want to make use of Kudos in your own applications, please visit settler.app. It's a user interface that combines together what I call an identity wallet. So it's a regular XRPL wallet that allows you to send funds in a non-custodial way. You own the keys. But it ties together with an identity system. It ties together with existing email addresses and then enables, via these built-in primitives, to create Kudos and send Kudos over time. Lots of details here, but the takeaway sort of is that if you have a group of people that you want to fund and those people don't necessarily have wallet addresses, but you know who they are, Kudos helps you to make a funding program. This is an example of what someone using Kudos for the Glow program might receive. They might receive this email. It says, you've received some Kudos from XRP Commons. Great, start your claim. And so that email process gets triggered when somebody nominates a person. That email then leads that person who's been nominated down a journey to make sure that they've been KYC'd, applied for the program, and done all of sort of the paperwork required to actually receive the funds. It's a self-service program that hopefully makes the process easy. I'm sure we can improve. So Kudos is this thing that helps you with what we call value pricing. So we help with the sending of those payments. So whenever you have something where you have a budget, you don't know how to value it, but you want to reward a group of people that help you in some way, you should think of Kudos as maybe being part of that solution. So if you have a group of people and you want to reward but don't necessarily know how to do it, please come talk to me. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Luke.
Thanks, Matt. I just want to conclude by saying that we are continuing to think about and architect funding programs, and we would love to connect with you. So first of all, we'd love to connect with you if you're interested in becoming a judge or a scout. If you have a thought or you want to tell us about an existing funding program you're running or planning to launch, we would be really interested in learning about that. If you want to help co-design the next generation of funding programs, we're also interested in those conversations. And of course, we always welcome any feedback on existing programs. So I think we're basically at time, but if you have any questions, come and talk to us later. You can find us, that's my email. You can reach out to me there. You can find me on the app, and we'll be outside the door for a few minutes. We're already through all of these talks, but tomorrow morning we have one last meetup with the community from Commons. We're hosting a academic breakfast at 8:15 in the Moore Room. So join us there if you're interested in academic subjects. Thank you very much.